I'll never forget the morning it all started. It was one of those quiet Mondays where the air smells like wet grass and the world feels still for a second, like maybe life is finally going to give you some peace. My granddad had just finished painting his new fence, 6 feet tall, solid cedar, stained dark walnut, so it gleamed in the sun, topped with little iron spikes that looked more decorative than dangerous. He stood there with his coffee, proud like a man who'd finally carved out a bit of space for himself. And that's when the screech of tires shattered it all. Out of a shiny black SUV stepped the storm itself. Her name was Deborah Kingsley, president of the Willow Creek HOA, clipboard already in hand, lips tight, ready to fight. She marched up our driveway like she owned the whole block, and in a voice that could have cut glass, she said, "This fence violates Section 7C, height exceeds code, and the color is not authorized heritage beige." Granddad didn't blink, didn't even put down his coffee. He just said, "You want a biscuit with that nonsense?" I swear her jaw almost cracked. She slapped a violation notice right on the gate, crooked, like she wanted it to sting. 72 hours to fix it or face fines. But what she didn't understand was, my granddad was the wrong man to corner. That night, I found him in his shed, digging through old toolboxes, muttering to himself like a kid with a science project. Wires, copper rods, a switch labeled fence mode. I asked him if he was trying to electrocute her, half joking, but he just laughed, that low, steady laugh of his that made you wonder if maybe the joke was on you. The next morning Deborah was back, this time dragging poor Howard, the HOA treasurer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They brought a ladder and a measuring stick, ready to prove the fence was 3 inches too tall. Granddad sat on the porch with his paper, not moving. But what she didn't know was he'd greased the top rung of that ladder with bacon fat. Halfway up, Deborah's heel slipped, and she went down flailing, arms and legs kicking like a cartoon tumble. Landed right in the azalea bush we'd been meaning to pull out. Howard tried to help her, but she smacked his hand away, more embarrassed than hurt. Granddad just offered her a napkin, calm as a preacher at Sunday service. It should have ended there, but pride is louder than reason. Deborah posted pictures of the fence in the HOA Facebook group, ranting about community standards. Half the neighbors sided with her, half just dropped popcorn emojis. The battle lines were drawn, and suddenly our quiet cul-de-sac wasn't so quiet anymore. And that's when Granddad escalated. Nights in the shed, the smell of solder, a faint hum like angry bees. He wasn't making a weapon, not really, just a fence with personality. Low-voltage wires, motion sensors, a hidden switch by the porch. She wants a war, he told me. Then she's gonna get a lesson. Deborah came back with reinforcements, clipboard brigade in full force. Howard again, plus Eugene, the rule-obsessed secretary, marching with the dignity of a funeral procession. They set up their ladder, their measuring tape, their righteous fury. Granddad just rocked in his chair, waiting. Howard climbed, shaky as a cat on stilts, until his foot hit that greased rung. Down he went, tape measure flying, landing square on Eugene's forehead. Deborah tried to keep control, but when she grabbed the top of the fence with her gloved hands, the static coil snapped alive. Just a harmless jolt, loud enough to scare the birds from the trees. She screamed, toppled backward, landing right on Howard. A pile of polyester and khaki, twitching and furious. The neighborhood was howling with laughter. Folks came out with lawn chairs just to watch the next round. But Deborah doubled down. She called the sheriff, she called zoning, she even forged notices on county letterhead. Each time, the answer was the same. Fence is legal, wires are harmless, and trespassing isn't. You'd think she'd quit, but Deborah wasn't built for quitting. So she tried theatrics. One night she crept around in goggles and gloves, crowbar in hand, trying to pry open a slat for evidence. That's when she triggered Granddad's masterpiece, the Karen alarm. Sirens blared, lights flashed, and a recorded voice shouted, "Warning, non-compliant access detected." Then the national anthem blasted across the block. Neighbors clapped, some even sang along, while Deborah ran screaming, tripping over sprinklers, her dignity in tatters. By then, the whole street had chosen sides. Some whispered about safety, most just grabbed popcorn. And still, she didn't stop. Deborah staged a town hall on her lawn, complete with projector slides of our fence, dramatic speeches about community decency. She even wore a sash that said, "Neighborhood First." I'll never forget the moment Granddad finally walked into her spotlight. He didn't shout, didn't wave papers. He just said, "I built that fence on my land, with my own hands, not to keep people out, but to remind someone where her business ends. I've fixed your mailboxes, pulled your kids out of storm drains, never asked for anything, except to be left alone." And the crowd went still, then clapped, then roared. Even Howard looked like he wanted to crawl under the refreshment table. And just when Deborah tried to rally, the projector cord sparked, screen went black, mic fizzled out. Her grand finale collapsed in silence, while our fence across the street hummed steady, green light blinking like a heartbeat. She resigned from the HOA a week later. Someone else promised fewer conflicts and more potlucks. Granddad didn't gloat. He just rewired the fence one last time. So now when anyone touched it, instead of alarms, it played Deborah's scream followed by his calm voice. "So stay on your side." Now, here's the thing. I don't tell this story because it's funny, though it is, or because it feels like we won, though maybe we did. I tell it because sometimes battles aren't about rules or fences, they're about respect, and what happens when someone refuses to give it. Granddad drew his line, and whether you agreed with him or not, the whole neighborhood learned what a real boundary looks like. So I want to ask you, who do you think was right? Was it about safety, or pride, or just two stubborn people who couldn't back down? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you've ever had your own HOA war. And don't forget to share this with a friend who'd laugh at the madness of it all. Because in the end, a fence isn't just wood and nails. It's a story, and sometimes it shocks you back to life.